Welcome back to the show. We have a pretty loaded up show, so if you can also check out the GSMC Sports and Podcasting Network on YouTube if you miss any segments. Segment one, we talked about our not our WWE, about our AEW Dynamite review. Segment two, we talked about TNA, Ring of Honor. Segment three, we touched about TNA Against All Odds. I gave you guys a little bit of preview analysis and predictions for that. So let's go ahead and jump right on into our segment four, which is going to be my Eric's World Tag Team Cup continues tonight. So yeah, let's dig on into it. So we have match number one. Match number one, we have the Usos against the Steiner brothers. The Usos, I really honestly like in this match, and something that I kind of give in terms of qualifications to determine who wins is they're kind of the legacy they left, kind of like their accomplishments, kind of like their chemistry inside of the ring, and just a little bit of their singles career kind of goes into this in terms of categories. But man, so this is kind of a doozy because you have brothers and you have brothers. The Steiner brothers obviously did have a huge falling out after they kind of broke up. You saw Rick Steiner kind of become highly irrelevant in terms of professional wrestling, and then you kind of saw Scott Steiner kind of go off a little bit of the grid, kind of went a little crazy there. But when these guys were together, it was absolute magic. And then you have Jimmy and Jay Uso. Jimmy and Jay Uso have been absolutely impressive ever since they came onto the scene in WWE. Like I've kind of credited the New Day. I'm going to credit these guys. I feel like the WWE tag team division is highly unappreciated. These two teams, like the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, and Jeff and Matt Hardy, the Hardy Boys, did in the early Attitude Era, did in the Attitude Era, early Ruthless Aggression Era. These guys kind of left the tag team division on blast, like you know what I mean. And now the tag team division, just think about it right now in WWE. Who do you have as the tag team champions? Two single stars, Ronda Truth Killings and The Miz, the Awesome Truth. You have on SmackDown, you have Austin Theory, and you also have Grayson Waller. Like it's not the same without these guys. It's not the same 1,010%. So honestly, I feel like out of these two teams, the winner and moving on to my final four, I'm going to say the Usos beat out the Steiner brothers. All right, so we have match two. Match two, we have Bobby Eaton and Arn Anderson against the Wild Samoans. The Wild Samoans have 21, tag team titles all over the world. This is not really much a competition because the best thing about Bobby Eaton and Arn Anderson is that kind of that deadly alliance that they had with the Four Horsemen, and and they won a couple of titles. Obviously, gotta respect that. They were Paul Heyman guys. You see on the screen, you see Paul Heyman right there, young Paul Heyman. But this is kind of like kind of like a no brainer here. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Wild Samoans to move on against Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton. All right, and next we have the New Day. I mentioned them briefly before, and then we have Matthew and Nicholas Jackson of the Young Bucks. Something crazy and something that you have to give credit to is the Young Bucks, is because they've been all around the world. They're basically the pride and joy of the independent circuit in terms of tag teams. You don't really mention New Japan Professional Wrestling. You don't talk about AEW. You don't talk about Ring of Honor. I'm not sure if they made a stint in TNA. They've also been in, I believe, in MLW. They've been all over the place. Everybody knows who the Young Bucks were. Me, as a wrestling fan, I remember when people can come up to me like, "Hey, you're a wrestling fan, man? What do you think about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks?" I was like what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I've never heard of these guys. And I'm like, dude, like, are you serious? Like, you never heard of these guys? These guys, absolutely respectable. These guys are going to be Hall of Famers in the terms of professional wrestling. And, definitely respect the Young Bucks 1,010%. They started the company of AEW with Cody Rhodes. But it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. On the other side, you do have the New Day. The New Day they just have so much fun. They just have so much fun on the screen when you're watching the New Day cut promos, when you're watching them on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or any WWE piece of film you can get your hands on. These guys are entertaining as hell. Like these guys obviously have a lot of World Tag Team title runs. SmackDown, Raw Tag, yeah. they're tag team champions. They've done a lot within WWE, and them as singles wrestlers: Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania, Biggie Langston when he first entered the league, as Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee's kind of like hitman or whatever. I think he fell in love with AJ Lee too. Storyline, but and then you also have Xavier Woods, King Woods. Man, it's pretty crazy. But if I would see these two fight in a real tag team match, my money. Oh man, it's hard. Obviously, in the comment section, if you guys want to help me out here to kind of pick a winner between these two guys, between these amazing, accomplished two teams. I like Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. Not really happy the way the whole Elite and the EVP storyline is going down in AEW right now. Not a huge fan of it, but I guess they're doing whatever they can to, to keep the company afloat. They are kind of the main focal point in terms of the storylines and stuff like that. And I think the New Day right now, I think they've kind of peaked, and now they're kind of, kind of rolling downhill. Not like in a bad way, not in a bad way. I feel like they've kind of, become comfortable with where they're at. We're kind of like that tag team that might get a tag team title run here and there, but it's not too serious. I feel like whenever the Young Bucks come into an arena, come into the ring, they have high expectations and they usually deliver. So the winner of this match and moving on to the Final Four is going to be Matthew and Nicholas Jackson of the Young Bucks. All right, lastly, we have the Rock and Roll Express. Not the Rock and Roll. Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express. I get them in the Midnight Express kind of. And then we also have the Heart Foundation. This one also, it's kind of hard based on like generations and stuff like that. Obviously, you had the Rock and Roll Express a little more prominent within the NWA circuit, and then you have the Heart Foundation more prominent within the WWF, WWE. But throwing that aside doesn't matter. The success of the company, focusing on chemistry, focusing on continuity of tag team, for focusing on their ability to win matches, to win championships. And honestly, this is kind of no brainer. Love Jim the Never Hart. Love that the excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Bret Hart with all my heart. But I'm gonna go with the Rock and Roll Express. The Rock and Roll Express beat Jim the Never Hart and Bret Hart to move on to the Final Four. I'm going to give you guys the winner next Thursday, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And we're running out of time, but we have one more segment to go on into. We have approximately 5 minutes, which is exactly kind of like all I need. Well, not all I need. So next segment, we're going to talk about Thursday Night Superstar Spotlight. We do have the WWE NXT inaugural NXT Women's North American Champion. So, hey, do not go anywhere.